My name's Jeff Bajorek, and my career in sales has been a hell of a ride. And I want to bring you along with me. And if you prefer to sell things at a premium, if you never want to win a deal on price, rethink the way you sell. Welcome back to the show. My name's Jeff Bajorek. I'm your host, and I'm here to help you rethink the way you sell. Now, season 2, we're starting that right now. Really excited to bring to you these next couple dozen episodes or so that dig into top performing salespeople, specifically the difference between top performers and everybody else. And I've long said that there's really only about a 5% difference between mediocrity and superstardom. That's exactly what we're going to dissect here. We're going to break apart those 5 percentage points, and I'm going to give you some insight into what you can do right away to improve your performance. Now, it's really interesting. I think as we break apart that 5%, what we're really going to understand is the difference between those who know and those who do. Because top performers don't know more. They just do more. And I won't even say that they do more. They do more of the things that they need to do. They execute relentlessly on the most important things. And so little of that 5% difference has to do with selling skills. Now, of course, when you have the right mindset, when you take the right approach, you're going to pick up some of that nuance a little more quickly, and it is very, very difficult to replace experience, right? You learn a lot of this nuance, you pick up a lot of these details through osmosis, and you need to subject yourself to a lot of sales calls before you can pick up on some of those little things. But you got to start on that path somewhere. So you don't need to be 10 years in the field, 15 years in the field, 20 years in the field before you can make something with what I'm going to share with you over the next couple of months. You just have to be willing to dig in. You have to be willing to execute. And I've been studying this for my entire sales career. When I first got started, when I first got involved and took a sales job, I wanted to know what it was going to be, what it was going to take, what it was going to be like to be great. And it was really frustrating at first because I didn't have a guide. And then once I got that guide, the entire world changed. Everything before me just opened up, and all of a sudden I could see clearly, and it was a beautiful thing. I went from almost quitting my sales career, which I shudder to think about now, to really understanding what it was that I could accomplish and what it was that I could become. That's really, really powerful. And I'm hoping that this season provides you with that guide. I'm really hoping you have a mentor, someone who can guide you personally on a day-to-day basis, someone who can check in on your progress significantly, someone who is really looking after you. But if you don't have that, first, find one. Secondly, if you don't have that, I think this can be a really good guide for you. We're going to talk about what I think are the 7 main differences between top performers and everybody else. Being proud to be in sales, having a really strong why, a very definite purpose. They treat selling like a career, not just a job. You are more than the business card you currently hold. You are a sales professional, and you know the next steps. They take responsibility for their outcomes. They refuse to blame others when the job doesn't get done or the number doesn't get delivered. Top performers don't just ask how to do something. They think in terms of what needs to be done, and they find their own way to get it there, the most effective way for them to get that job done. I like to say, you got to sell like you. I can give you all the tips in the world, but one of the reasons that this show isn't about sales tips is because you can't sell like me. You can't take my words. You can't take my tricks and make them work effectively for yourself. You can do a little bit of that, but at the very least, what I want to do is inspire you to find your own way to do things so that you can be astronomically more effective and successful than you would trying to act like me. And by the same token, I can't just turn it around and use your stuff to be effective, right? So top performers ask and think in terms of what needs to be done rather than just asking, how do I do this, right? And even when they do get that strategy guide or that playbook, they use that knowledge to identify the task at hand rather than just following steps. Top performers create an environment to buy. They don't just sell things. They create an environment where people want to buy things. Maybe you think that's marketing. Maybe it is a little marketing, but there's a lot of wisdom in that. Do you make your customers feel safe to do business with you? Do you make them excited to refer you to other people? And top performers, more so than anybody else, have swagger. They keep it. They know what the mindsets are, right? They lean in. They're not getting too high with the highs or too low with the lows. I was taught that early in my career. Jeff, don't get too high with the highs or too low with the lows. I'm like, dude, I don't even know what that means. But yeah, sounds good. Yeah, now I know what that means. And I'm going to share that with you as well. So the purpose of this season is to really dig into those mindsets, dig into those behaviors. And I want to show you that it doesn't take supernatural talent to be really, really good at selling. Sure, every once in a while, you're going to have someone who's got more talent in their pinky finger than you have in your entire body. Someone who has forgotten someone who has forgotten more about selling than you will ever learn. Those people are unicorns. So when you see those, clap, thank them, and take them out for lunch and see if you can learn something from them. But don't hold yourself to that standard. That's not fair. It's not fair to you. You're not going to get there. But when you recognize that most people performing at the highest levels in this profession are just looking at things differently than you are, but they're not doing anything you can't do, now you're onto something. Once you identify these skills, you can understand them, you can adopt them. And if you're willing to just take away a couple of key concepts from this season and implement them into your routine, you will absolutely take your sales career to new levels of success and fulfillment. So what's going to happen? Over the next couple of months, you're going to hear from me. You're going to hear from people like Andy Paul, Tara Horstmeyer, Larry Levine, Luigi Prestinenzi, Jordana Zeldin, Mike Hook, Andy Rasick, who you're going to hear a lot more from in the future, DeJuan Brown, Camille Clemens, Liz Wendling. There's a lot going on. I'm tying together old interviews that I've done from prior shows, like Deeper Thought, which is a project that's been shelved because it lived out its utility. But the conversations I had for that podcast were significant. And, I'm repurposing them here. So some of those episodes were recorded in 2020, some of them in 2021. I think the information, the lessons learned, are still very, very valuable and timeless. So I'm going to share those with you. There's also an ebook that is associated with this season that will be available shortly. There is also a video course inside my network at rethinkthewayyouSell.com that you can use to learn, to challenge yourself, to think through each one of these lessons on your own so that you get a little more context, you get a little more understanding, and you're ready to take that next step. So, are you with me? Are you ready to go? Are you ready to dig in? Are you ready to take notes? Are you ready to think? One of the things that I heard consistently when I got feedback on season 1 was, Jeff, I love that it feels like you're right there in the room with me. I love that you're asking me questions. And I love that you're really encouraging me to do the work and think about this stuff. Well, I'm glad people recognize that because it's the hallmark of this show. So I'm going to continue to do that. And I hope you continue to take the time to sit down, to journal, to meditate, to do the kind of things that you need to do in order to make the most of this material. These episodes are not long. That's because they don't need to be long in order for you to be headed on the right path. So take the time, invest in yourself, and do the work. Really, really excited to move forward with you. If at any time you have a question, you have a comment, you have something you want to respond to or talk to me about, look, I answer my own email, jb@jeffbajorek.com. That comes to me. It doesn't go to anybody else. So if you want to say something, reach out. If there's any of this stuff that you think might be helpful to your team, I would love to sit down and talk about how I could help your team with that. That's what I do. It's what I get up every day to do more of. And if you just want to be a part of the conversation, then, hey, follow me on LinkedIn. Join the mailing list. You can go to jeffbajorek.com and you can join the mailing list right there. There will be webinars. There will be, other things going on that you're going to want to stay in touch with. And that's how you're going to hear about that stuff. So look, I'm accessible to you. I appreciate you making yourself accessible to me through this podcast. And I really look forward to moving forward with this season on Top Performers. Thanks again for being here, and I'll talk to you again soon.